It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome to the show. We're kicking things off today with an announcement from the Pope and Young Club, who convened a special meeting last Saturday in Prescott, Arizona, where they certified a new North American record bow-harvested mountain goat. The goat in question was shot by Caleb Baird, and he got it in Alaska on September 11th. With a score of 53 4/8, this mountain goat beat out the previous record by a quarter inch. Speaking about the hunt, in an article carried by the Outdoor Wire, Baird said he was unable to get anyone to go with him on the trip due to the travel complications of this COVID year, and headed into the mountains of southeast Alaska solo the second week of September. He found his billy on day 4, and after ascending to its perch for half a day, dropped him after making a 31-yard shot with his bow. Baird's Rocky Mountain Goat will be on display at the Pope and Young's biannual awards convention, tentatively scheduled for April 14th through the 17th in Reno, Nevada. This week on America Outdoors Radio, we've got 3 great guests who will be covering 4 different subjects. Our first guest, and our last guest as well, will be Brody Henderson, the senior editor at MeatEater.com. He just helped Steven Rinella, the man behind the MeatEater brand, put together a wilderness survival book that will not only be a great resource, but also a great Christmas gift too, and he'll tell you more about that book in just a second. At the end of the program, Brody's going to be back to tell you about an article he just published at MeatEater.com about mule deer hunting and the best 5 states in America to go to if you're looking for a chance to tag out on a trophy during a DIY hunt. Natalie Krebs, the senior editor for Outdoor Life magazine, will also join us today to talk hunting, but this hunting is a little different than what you're probably used to. No guns or bows here. Nope, your weapon of choice in this hunt for quail and rabbits is a falcon, specifically a falcon who goes by the name of Hash Brown. Natalie traveled to the outskirts of Albuquerque, New Mexico to chronicle this unique hunt that you can read about in the latest edition of Outdoor Life and hear about right here on America Outdoors Radio. And then we've got our third guest. That would be John Lindquist with the Midway USA Foundation. It's a 503c nonprofit organization with a mission of supporting and growing shooting sports in high schools and colleges around our nation. And you know what? The more kids we get out onto the range means the more kids that become adults that hunt in the field, and we need more hunters in the field because our numbers have been declining in recent years. In addition to this, I'll answer the question a few of you have been asking me about what nonprofits I give my money and support to. It's something you might want to consider doing during this Christmas season because it can really help the bottom line of conservation organizations that have taken a real hit during this year of the COVID-19 pandemic because they haven't been able to do the fundraisers and banquets that keep them going from year to year. Before I give you that information, though, let's get back to the idea of cozying up with a good book around a fire on a cold December evening during the Christmas season. Next on America Outdoors Radio, the holidays are here. You might be looking for a gift for someone, and it's hard to beat a good book to read by the fire. One book you might want to invest in is the Meat Eater Guide to Wilderness Skills and Survival. It's written by Steven Rinella, and he got a big assist from his senior editor at themeateater.com, Brody Henderson. We've got Brody on the line to tell you more about this great Christmas gift book. Brody, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, Brody, let's just start off with this premise. There's a lot of wilderness survival books out there. What makes this one by Steven Rinella, with an assist by you, different than the other wilderness survival books out there?
You know, we wrote this book in large part as a response to all of the silly wilderness reality television information that's circulating out there these days. A lot of sensationalized, dramatic things that are portrayed that aren't necessarily accurate. You'll see a lot of that stuff on television these days, and we wanted to write a very practical, no-nonsense guide, not only to survival, but wilderness skills. Because if you have the right wilderness skills, there's a good chance you're not going to end up in a survival situation.
That is a good way to put it. And I've heard this before. The best way to avoid a survival situation is not to get into it in the first place. One thing you talk about that I think is very key when it comes to survival is navigation. And these days, everybody's bebopping out into the wilderness with a cell phone thinking, this is all I need, because A, I can call for help if something goes bad, and B, it's basically got a map on it to tell me exactly where I'm at. Not exactly a smart move, is it?
Well, it's a smart move to carry your phone. You should definitely always have your phone on you. A lot of lives have been saved just through the use of cell phones. But if your face is buried in that thing all day long out in the woods, you're not going to be taking in a lot of information. You need to have a good sense of spatial awareness and know what's going on around you. And you can't necessarily rely on that thing to get you out of a pickle. So you need to have other skills like reading maps and things like that.
Yes, the lost art of reading maps and actually using a compass, something that almost nobody teaches anymore. If you go ahead and talk to somebody about the concept of true north, they look at you like you're some sort of spiritual advisor.
Right.
Okay, besides navigation from the basics to the modern, let's talk about something else that's really important, and that would be the wedding ring. I've got one on my finger right now. A lot of our listeners do too, but maybe it's not the best thing to wear in the woods. Why is that?
When you think about it, you're wearing a metal band around your hand that can actually cause all kinds of injuries. There's this thing called degloving, where if your wedding ring gets caught on something, say if you're climbing out of a tree stand or your finger gets stuck under a rock or something like that, you can actually deglove your finger, which is basically stripping all of the skin off of your ring finger.
Ow.
So we recommend not wearing metal rings out in the woods. We've generally taken replacing our metal wedding rings with silicone rubber rings.
That makes perfect sense when you put it that way. Now, Steven Rinella made his fame as the meat eater, so we've got to talk about eating and cooking. And when it comes to a wilderness survival book, how do you address that?
There's all kinds of information in the book about eating well in the woods. One of the biggest things you want to keep in mind is when you're outside exerting yourself, whether you're hiking or fishing or hunting, you're generally burning a lot of calories, so you got to keep your calorie count up.
Right.
So there's a lot of information in the book on how we tend to eat and cook out in the woods. We have sample packing lists in there. We have a lot of information on camp stoves and how we're cooking our meals out there. But there's also a ton of information on sourcing natural foods. We're not talking about long-term survival here. We're talking about just taking advantage of resources that are easy to get, whether that's fish or berries, small game, things like that. You're probably going to be wasting a lot of time if you think in a survival situation you're going to kill a deer with a spear and survive off of it for a month.
I would agree, and that goes back to dispelling some of those reality TV shows that aren't too real. Folks, if you're looking for a good book full of practical information that I have no doubt will be a good read, pick up a copy of The Meat Eater Guide to Wilderness Skills and Survival. And I guess my last question to you, Brody, is this: where can you buy it?
Ideally, you'd buy it at a local bookstore, but if you can't do that, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, places like that, you can pick it up and order it online.
You can also order it online at themeateater.com. That's themeateater.com. And again, it's by Steven Rinella. He is a very, very well-known outdoors personality when it comes to television, when it comes to Netflix, and so much more. He's a great resource, and Brody is too, and the rest of the Meat Eater crew that put this together. So pick up a copy of the Meat Eater Guide to Wilderness Skills and Survival. Settle back, educate yourself, and you'll be ready for your next expedition into the wilderness. Brody, thanks so much for sharing this with us today. Sounds like a great Christmas gift.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Hunting and fishing are exercises in hope. Before you head into the woods, you hope to tag out on a deer you'll have to field dress. Before you make that first cast, you hope for a big fish to clean and fillet. When your hopes are realized, you'll need a sharp knife. Whether you sharpen that blade on a power sharpener in the shop or a manual sharpener in the field, WorkSharp has the tool for you. Look for WorkSharp products in sporting goods stores near you or online at WorkSharpTools.com.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking. From camp stoves to cast iron, from smokers to grills, Camp Chef will change the way you cook outdoors. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Whether you're serving breakfast in the backcountry or barbecue on the back patio, savor the simplicity with Camp Chef. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. Immerse yourself in a complete Alaska wilderness experience through Sportsman's Cove Lodge. Up to 6 of you will spend a week in a beautiful waterfront log home in a secluded cove. Every day is a new adventure. Go on a guided fishing trip or haul in a bounty of shrimp and crab. Visit a Native American village where totem poles are carved. Go on a whale or bear watching trip and return back to your very own place at the end of the day. Find out more about the Alaska Wilderness Experience at alaskasbestlodge.com. That's alaskasbestlodge.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is the voice for your public lands, waters, and wildlife. From the Canadian Yukon to the Florida Everglades, we're stepping up to conserve North America's public lands, defend our hunting and fishing traditions, and expand public access to the outdoors. Our outdoor heritage depends on sportsmen and women like you speaking up for the natural resources that sustain our way of life. Find out how you can get involved at backcountryhunters.org and become a BHA member today.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're going to talk about bird hunting today, but it's not the bird hunting you're used to. We're talking about falconry. That's right, using falcons to hunt birds, whether it be waterfowl or upland birds. With us here to tell you more about it is Natalie Krebs. She is the senior editor for Outdoor Life. She wrote a great story accompanied by some wonderful photos that you'll find in the current edition about a New Mexico falconry hunt. Natalie, great to have you on the air again.
Thanks for having me, John.
So, Natalie, most of our listeners, when we talk hunting, they're talking about, people with shotguns that are after ducks or quail or pheasant. But falconry has been around a lot longer than shotguns have. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the history and how worldwide this passion is, too?
Sure. So falconry, nobody's exactly sure, but it goes back millennia. Some people think it originated in Mongolia. There's a big history of it in the Middle East and Hungary. And folks have been using birds of prey to help them catch game, from birds to rabbits and more, for years, for a long time. And because it is so varied globally, it's kind of evolved into all these different strains of falconry today, many of which are still practiced. And in this particular instance that we'll be talking about today is falconry for quail and desert rabbits.
Right. And, I got to visit the Archives of Falconry. It's located near Boise, Idaho, where the Peregrine Fund's World Center for Birds of Prey is. And in addition to seeing all sorts of raptors, to include falcons there, you get to see, again, how worldwide this is and how long it's been going on. They have exhibits there from the 1700s in England. They've got even older things from the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. Again, falconry, folks, it's not just a thing. It's a passion. It's a sport that's been happening, like you said, for millennia. Let's talk about some of the birds that are used. You mentioned Mongolia, and I vividly remember seeing a video of a falconer using actually a golden eagle to take down deer in Mongolia. I know that's a little bit abnormal. What are some of the more normal falcons used?
Sure. So there are birds like Harris hawks, which are often used for like squirrel hunting, especially in northeast U.S. The guy I went hunting with in New Mexico owns a peregrine, and he also owns a northern goshawk. His name is hash brown. That is the bird that I hunted with.
And let's talk about how falconry hunts usually occur, because the one you did, and we're going to talk about again in just a sec, is a little different than most I know. I'm used to a falconer going out somewhere, letting the falcon circle and do its thing, find the prey, get the prey, and bring it back. That's not how your hunt went at all, is it?
No, it's not. The best way that I can describe it, and how Tyler, who I went hunting with, kind of prepared me for it, was think about upland hunting, desert quail hunting, behind a pack of dogs, but instead of a shotgun, you've got a bird of prey on your arm. And that's sort of what it's like. You know, the dogs set out and they're searching cover for birds, and if they find a covey, ideally Tyler would walk up and flush those birds, and Hash Brown, his goshawk, would take off and try and catch a quail on the initial flush. So that was in many ways very familiar to me. I've been on plenty of upland hunts like that, but it was totally different because nobody else can take a shotgun, and you know, you're all your hopes are on this bird to try and catch prey.
This is like one of the coolest concepts I've ever heard of when it comes to bird hunting. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about your hunt in terms of where it happened and who you went with?
Sure. So we went with, his name is Tyler Sladen, and he is a 27-year-old Army veteran who lives in Albuquerque. And so we went hunting, and by we went with a photographer who shot photos for our story and a videographer with Project Upland. So there's also like a 10-minute short film from our hunt that you could watch. But we all met in February in Albuquerque, and we went hunting on the outskirts of Albuquerque. It was actually pretty interesting because it was a chunk of public land that held a lot of quail, but you can't discharge a firearm there, so you can hunt, but it's pretty hard to quail hunt without a shotgun unless you happen to have a bird of prey like Tyler does. So we went out there, and it was one of the stranger places I've ever hunted. It was in some ways a little sketchy. Like we still heard gunshots. There was trash everywhere, but it was also beautiful at the same time. You know, you're in high desert with this like sparkling view of Albuquerque below you, sprinting after a hawk, which was the other thing that nobody mentioned to me was how much you have to run when you're hunting behind a bird. And that's simply because once he goes after a quail or a rabbit, he can fly much faster than you, and it's so hilly that he can get out of sight. So you want to keep up with him as best as possible to keep an eye on him, make sure coyotes don't sneak up on him, that sort of thing.
Wow, I didn't know that. A question about the quail that you were after in this part of New Mexico. What species were they?
We were chasing Gambel's quail.
Okay. And how did the hunt go?
It was a little tough simply in terms of numbers. At the time, Hash Brown was, he is still like a juvenile hawk. He was in his first year, and so he was still learning. I mean, it's like taking a relatively new upland hunter with you. They're going to miss birds.
Right.
And they're also, it's like a prey-predator relationship. Any hunter knows you're not successful every time you go. So he missed some birds. It was tough conditions in some parts, but he had enough success that I think he probably caught, we went out 3 days and he caught something every day, whether it was a quail or a desert cottontail. And that is also key to training a new bird, is that they have to have that success. Just like, taking a kid hunting for the first time, they need to know that there's a reward, that it's fun, and build him into the mature predatory hawk that he will become in adulthood.
Very cool. What about the dogs? What kind of dogs were you hunting behind for this, and why the particular breed?
Sure. So the main, we hunted behind about 6 setters. And so they were doing a lot of the flushing work, looking for the birds, the quail specifically. And then we had one Vizsla with us. And Vizslas are actually traditionally falconry dogs. They're Hungarian. And so his job was more interesting. He stuck closer to Hash Brown. And especially if Hash Brown flew off and we were running, trailing him because he can fly much faster than we can run. Trigger can keep up with him much better. Trigger is the Vizsla. And so his job is to sort of do the grunt work on the ground. If Hash Brown is in pursuit of a quail, Trigger's job is to make sure that quail doesn't dive into the ground or go into cover. And if it does, reflush it to get it back in the air for Hash Brown to continue to chase. And then if Hash Brown does catch something, say a rabbit that is making squealing distress noises, his job is to sort of stand bodyguard while Hash Brown is on the ground eating the rabbit, he defends hash brown against coyotes and any other sort of prey that might come in on the ground attracted by that rabbit's noise. So they're pretty close buddies. It's really cool to watch them work together.
Natalie, I'll tell you what, I wish I was there. Sounds like an absolutely fascinating story you chased down. And folks, you can read about it in the Primal issue. That's the brand new issue of Outdoor Life. And you've got to check out the photos by Nick Kelly, too. He did a fantastic job of photographing hash brown, along with all sorts of other great photographs that really captured the essence of falconry and this story in New Mexico. Where can folks watch the video, too?
They can find that at projectupland.com. And it also, if you forget that, there's a link in the story, both on Outdoor Life's website and in our print issue.
The story is titled Prey Drive. The author, Natalie Krebs, senior editor for Outdoor Life. Definitely worth a read, definitely worth a look. Pick up the latest edition of Outdoor Life and check it out. And go to projectupland.com and check out the video. Natalie, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks for having me, John.
Looking for the perfect gift for the hunter or shooter in your life? Give them a Henry. These American-made lever-action guns shoot straight and have a classic Western look. Choose from a .22 caliber Henry for plinking, a heavier caliber for hunting, or even a shotgun for birds and small game. Better still, these guns come in all sorts of finishes, covering everything from use in the field or on the range to showing off the best-looking firearm in your zip code. Henry rifles and shotguns come with a lifetime guarantee. And if you help need deciding what Henry is right for you, just ask. The award-winning customer service team at henryusa.com will be happy to help you out. So, go to henryusa.com and order a free catalog and holiday gift guide. Then, find what you like, look for a dealer near you, and get a gift that will put a real smile on someone's face this holiday season. Start searching for your Henry now at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com.
Next on America Outdoors Radio, we've got John Lindquist on the line. He's with the Midway USA Foundation. It's a nonprofit that's doing some really good work to get our kids into the shooting sports and subsequently into the field as hunters too. John, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Hey, I'm happy to be here myself. Thanks for reaching out and offering us the time.
Oh, absolutely. But I got to tell you, when I think of Midway USA, I think of a place to go buy shooting, hunting, outdoors gear, fishing tackle. But the Midway USA Foundation, I know it's aligned with the company, but you're separate. You're a nonprofit. What's the mission of your nonprofit?
So we are indeed separate from the Midway USA retailer that most people are accustomed to working with that provides everything outdoors. The foundation was started by Larry and Brenda Potterfield, but we are a totally separate entity. And our mission is to grow and sustain the shooting sports industry by providing long-term funding to youth shooting sports teams of all disciplines. So we're a 501c3 public charity, and our mission is to help communities and organizations raise funds to support their high school and collegiate shooting teams.
How popular are the shooting sports in our schools today, and what's the biggest barrier to get them going? Let's break that down into two questions. Let's start off with how many schools and teams you're actually supporting through the foundation right now.
Sure. It's actually growing quickly as people learn more about it. But the foundation works with roughly 2,800 shooting teams nationally, and that's consisting of roughly 125,000 athletes. So in some states, shooting sports has become the number one sport for high school age athletes. And in collegiate levels, it's expanding all the time. That is probably where we're seeing some of the greatest growth. There are barriers, obviously, that restrict growth, and most of it has more to do with people not knowing or understanding what youth shooting sports is all about and how it operates and how safe it is. You can imagine schools, they're not going to jump into anything without some form of understanding. But in some states where the schools don't want to jump on board right away, there are teams that function more like a club outside of the school.
Right.
And once the school sees that success and participation levels and the safe aspect of the sport, they pick it up later as a varsity sport. And some schools actually provide varsity letters for participation like any other sport. The cool part is those athletes don't experience, the injuries that you see traditionally with, say, football or wrestling, where kids are tearing up ankles and knees, and those kind of injuries don't exist in this sport. So it's very safe and it's very healthy. So funding a new program is something that coaches may find intimidating, so it might be slow to get going as they find these coaches, because they're like, all right, there's the cost of ammo, the cost of the targets, the cost of travel and uniforms. How are we going to pay for all that? And, the Midway USA Foundation provides free fundraising tools and programs to teams that are, with us in the way of an endowment account. So we provide things like guns and coolers and tablets and binoculars. We even have drones at the moment that those teams can get for free. They can fundraise with their locally. There's a fundraising goal. Then once they've got their fundraiser complete, on average, they typically keep half the money local for immediate needs, and then the other half of that fundraising pot goes into their own endowment account that we have at the Midway USA Foundation, and we match that contribution on top of it. So they're right out of the chute, they're almost doubling or more than doubling their money before they even get started, really. And then we also offer something new in the coming years here. We're offering range development grants and coach training grants. So the areas that don't have facilities to shoot, or they're struggling to find coaches that are certified, we're going to be helping fund that in the future as well.
This is just fantastic because, just listening to you over the last couple of minutes, you literally are breaking down just about any barrier that a school could have. And I do think the biggest one has got to be the funding. It's one thing to say, let's field a soccer team where you literally just need half a dozen soccer balls and, a couple of nets and you're good to go. But again, rifles, ammunition, targets, binoculars or spotting scopes, this adds up to a lot of money. The whole training aspect to coaches who may not be familiar with how to do this, or at least thinking to themselves, I'm not ready to coach a shooting sports team. I love the fact you've got that. And I love the fact that you even help find a range for them or develop a range. This is just fantastic. So here's the next question. If folks want to find out more about how to start up a team at their high school or at their college, how do they go about doing this?
Yeah, well, they can certainly reach out to us anytime and talk to one of our program managers. We will help connect them with area partner or a regional partner in their part of the world that can get them going and get them set up and part of a bigger organization. So there's structure and there's all the ancillary ways to help the team grow, because we're all about growing the sport, not just where you start, but down the road we want the team thriving. So we'll help connect those people to those entities. As they are all partners of ours, we help support them as well. They have endowment accounts with us, much like a team, so they have the funds to go out and do their programs much more effectively. We'll also help the team set up an endowment account for free. So when they come to us and they want to start an endowment account, there's no fee for that. There's no charge for that. The cool part is the endowment account will be managed by Goldman Sachs, which is one of the world's largest investment firms, and they have a tremendous track record. That account will then benefit that team forever. So it's not something that's going to depreciate or go away. In 50, 100, 500 years, that account will be benefiting those teams in that area. We also, like I said, we provide the fundraising products. Those are also free of charge. Any donations that come into that team endowment account are 100% deposited into that account. So if somebody makes a donation by credit card, there's no fees that come off that credit card. We cover all those fees. We pay for that processing. 100% of the proceeds go in and hit the bottom line for that endowment.
Folks, bottom line is this. If you are looking to start a shooting team at your local high school or at your junior college or at your college, or enhance the one that you already have. Maybe take it from the club level to maybe a sports team level, maybe even get your kid a letter in that. The place to go to is MidwayUSAFoundation.org. That's the website for the Midway USA Foundation, MidwayUSAFoundation.org. Get your kids involved in the shooting sports. There's a strong correlation between kids who are involved in the shooting sports, who eventually become hunters and have a lifelong passion for that too. So get them out there, get them shooting, get them in the field. You're going to do yourself a favor and your kids a favor too. The website again, MidwayUSAFoundation.org. John, thanks for the great work you're doing and sharing it with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Anytime. Thank you.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Henry Repeating Arms, and if you're looking to get a kid in a shooting, introduce them to the sport with a Henry lever action rifle. You can get a .22 caliber lever action rifle for a very affordable price, or get yourself one or somebody else one that's a real step up, the Henry Golden Boy. It's an absolutely beautiful lever action rifle, and on top of this, Henry, which already had 200 different models to choose from, has just come out with another 37. If you are looking for an American-made, rugged, and reliable rifle with a 100% lifetime satisfaction guarantee, this is the rifle for you. Just get a hold of Henry at henryusa.com. Give them a call. They've got award-winning customer service. And when it comes to the holidays, the first thing you're going to want to do is order their free holiday gift guide. It even comes with 2 decals you can use as stocking stuffers. And they might just get a hint after you do that about what's going to be under the tree in that long, long box that only holds one thing, and that would be a Henry for Christmas. If you want to be a real hero for the holidays, a Henry rifle will definitely make you one. Whether it's a .22 or one of the other calibers they have, we're talking about Old West calibers and modern calibers too. Get a Henry rifle or shotgun for Christmas. And if you want an idea of what to order, again, go to henryusa.com, order the free holiday gift guide that comes with 2 decals, and find the perfect shotgun or rifle for somebody in your life.
Our American spirit is alive and strong, and while we're all going through these unprecedented historical times, we can face these challenges together. Hello, I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. Although we may wear face masks and practice social distancing, there are no restrictions on making travel memories for business or pleasure. Taking care of our Shiloh guests and employees is the very essence of what we do. At Shiloh Inns, we're open and ready to welcome you to a clean, safe home away from home. You'll find extra cleaning and sanitizing protocols in place for the safety of our guests and employees. At Shiloh Inns, we offer many free amenities like free Wi-Fi, and even the kids stay free. So book your next stay with confidence at shilohins.com or call 1-800-222-2244. Shiloh Inns, affordable excellence. American family-owned and proud of it.
Why book at Sportsman's Cove Lodge?
Why is Alaska like no other place on Earth? It hasn't changed in thousands of years.
From the way you get here on a float plane to the way you go out with the guides and the boats, it's just a professional experience.
And I said, this is as good as it gets. I said, if you can't catch fish here, you can't catch fish anywhere.
Your experience with us will leave you speechless.
Book now at alaskasbestlodge.com.
The Dalles in Oregon is your base camp for fishing fun. Reel in big salmon, tangle with steelhead, bass, and walleye, or wrestle a monster sturgeon to the boat. After the day is done, you'll find a variety of lodging options around town. Need to resupply? We've got you covered with sporting goods stores plus great dining, breweries, wineries, and can't-miss attractions like the Gorge Discovery Center. Plan your fishing getaway today at explorethedalles.com. That's explorethedalles.com.
Attention homeowners, spending more time around your house means you're putting more stress on major appliances that keep your home running. Like many Americans, a major breakdown could be very costly during these uncertain times. AC unit goes, that's $4,500. Water heater breaks, $1,500. When you own a home, it's always something. If you have a home warranty, those repairs could cost you nothing. A Home Service Club warranty pays for the repair or replacement of your home appliances and systems when they break down, even from normal wear and tear. For about $1 a day, you can cover your home appliances and systems. It's not a question of if they'll break down, it's when. If you call now, you'll get your first month free and $75 off your first year. Make home appliance repairs one less thing to worry about. Call 800-259-1604 now for your free quote, free first month, and $75 off your first year. 800-259-1604 now. That's 800-259-1604. Again, 800-259-1604.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Deer season's in the rearview mirror for some of you out there, but if you are dreaming of tagging out on a big mule deer, maybe taking a trip out west to do so as a non-resident hunter, we've got some ideas for you, and they're coming at you courtesy of Brody Henderson. He's a senior editor for themeateater.com. He just wrote a great article about the 5 best states where you can hunt mule deer. Brody, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, Brody, mule deer can be hunted in 15 of our United States, but you've broken down 5 which are the best. And we're just going to start off with what is, in your opinion, the number 1 destination for mule deer in the United States. That would be the Centennial State, Colorado. Why is Colorado so good for muleys?
Well, historically, if you look at the Boone and Crockett record, it's pretty clear that a lot of big bucks have come out of Colorado in the past several decades, and it's still cranking out big bucks these days. So if you're looking for a trophy buck, it's by far the top choice for serious mule deer hunters. And if you're just looking for a good experience where you're going to see a lot of deer, Colorado's a great choice too.
Let's talk about Idaho. That is a state that gets a lot of attention, not just from hunters in neighboring states, but from all over the nation, and for good reason. Over-the-counter tags, or have been, I should say, easy to get, and Idaho's known for a lot of big bucks too, isn't it?
It is. It's kind of come on as a mule deer destination in recent years. As far as non-residents go, it's probably going to be a little harder to get your hands on a tag because they put a cap on the number of over-the-counter non-resident tags, but it's still a good place to go where you can just go buy a tag as long as you get on it quick as soon as those tags go on sale.
Right, and some of those tags, folks, are on sale now. And let me tell you how much of a decrease we're talking about here. Last fall in particular, there were so many hunters in Idaho from out of state that the Fish and Game Commission was inundated with calls about, you got to do something about this. So they did. They've reduced the number of non-resident tags for deer and elk from basically about 28,000 for deer and elk all the way down to some 4,000 or so. They reduced it down to 10 to 15% of tags available are for non-residents now compared to what it was in the past. So you might want to get on this right now if you haven't already, if you're looking for a tag in Idaho. Let's head to Montana. That's traditionally another great mule deer state, isn't it?
It is. There's tons of public land. It's got long archery and rifle seasons. So it's just a great place to go if you want to roam around and look for a buck on public land.
There is a downside to hunting in Montana, though, and that's the cost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an expensive deer tag. If you're going for just a deer tag, it's something like $700,
Wow.
Somewhere around there, which is a lot of money to spend on just a deer tag.
Yes.
But if you compare it to paying $150 to go play a round of golf for 3 hours, is it really that bad?
I like your perspective on that because I was shying away from that price tag as soon as you mentioned it. But you put it that way, okay, well, maybe this isn't so bad after all. Let's head one state south to Wyoming. This is another one that's known for big mule deer, though mule deer have faced some issues during recent winters, haven't they?
Yeah, they've had some tough winters. Some of the better units that are known for producing big bucks in the last few years have had high mortality winter kills. They're coming out of that now. So hopefully this winter, it's a mild winter and the deer will come back even better. There's still a lot of big bucks in Wyoming. There's just not as many of them as there was 10 years ago, say.
And Wyoming's got a weird little rule that's going to be very important for all of you do-it-yourself hunters out there. And it involves their wilderness lands. And there's a lot of wilderness in Wyoming. You're not allowed to hunt by yourself on those lands, are you?
You are not in federally designated wilderness areas in Wyoming. Non-residents are required to hire a guide. I feel it's a pretty silly rule. Non-residents are allowed to hunt wilderness and other western states. The reasoning is that non-residents, they say, are more likely to get themselves in trouble in remote backcountry wilderness areas. There's really no evidence that happens in other states. So it's a rule we'd like to see changed, but you just got to go with it.
All right. That is a weird rule. I agree. Somebody is clearly profiting from this, probably some guides out there, and they probably don't want to see a change, but I'm with you. If you can manage to stay safe in the wilderness of Idaho or Colorado or Montana, you can probably manage to stay safe by yourself in the wilderness of Wyoming, too. The last state was kind of a surprise to me because I associate it with the Great Plains as opposed to some of these more traditional Rocky Mountain hunting areas, Nebraska.
Yeah, it's kind of a sleeper mule deer state. It's definitely more known for agriculture and river bottom whitetail hunting, but the western half of the state has some great mule deer hunting. The nice thing about Nebraska is the tags are affordable. They're over the counter. They've got a long archery season. They've got a 2-week rifle season, and they've got a very long late muzzleloader season. So there's a lot of opportunities there. You're not going to find as much public land as you would in a state like Montana, but there's enough of it that if you do a little research, you can go have a pretty good mule deer hunt.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. You got some great options here. If you are after a mule deer, you want to head to a new state to hunt them, consider the top 5, according to Brody Henderson with MeatEater.com. Those would be Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Colorado, and it's not too early to start planning right now. You can find out more about deer hunting and other great content when it comes to fishing and hunting in the wild at themeateater.com. And don't forget to check out Steven Rinella's brand new book he's got out for the holidays, The Meat Eater Guide to Wilderness Skills and Survival. Brody, I appreciated your information about that in the last interview, and it is the holidays, so let me say one last thing before we go. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You have a good holiday.
Speaking of Christmas and the holiday season, this portion of the show is brought to you by WorkSharp. They're the ones that make those fantastic knife and tool sharpeners that you can find in hardware and sporting goods stores all over North America. You can also find them online at WorkSharpTools.com. And let me give you a very good reason to go there, because once you do, you'll see their entire product line that's for sale. Everything from manual sharpeners to electric sharpeners that you can use in the kitchen, you can use in the shop, you can use in the field. You're going to find something you want there, whether it be a stocking stuffer or whether it be a major gift for somebody in your life. You're going to find something at WorkSharpTools.com. And when you go to the checkout counter, make sure you type in the coupon code RADIO, because as soon as you do, you are going to get 30% off your entire order plus free shipping. Yes, you heard that right. Type in the word radio at checkout and you'll get 30% off your entire order plus free shipping. This ends this month, so you really want to take advantage of this now if you haven't already. Work sharp for Christmas. You can't go wrong with a gift from there. Sticking with Christmas, this is also a great time to donate to some of the nonprofits out there. And this has been a really tough year for a lot of our nonprofits because, as we've mentioned on this show before, they haven't been able to do a lot of the fundraising they normally do. We're talking about banquets, for example. Banquets are a major way that a lot of our nonprofits, especially conservation organizations, get the funding they need to do the work that they do, whether it be lobbying for better laws that help the outdoors and help conservation issues, or actually doing on-the-ground habitat work. I've been asked by several people, which organizations do I support? And I support quite a few, but I will tell you a few of them that I've given money to recently. One of them would be Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. You hear their PSAs every week on this show, and there's a reason for that. They are dedicated to protecting our public lands, both from a conservation point of view and for you and I to access in Hunters and Anglers, and that is a cause I can definitely get behind. Another organization that I support, Pheasants Forever, just renewed my membership with them. And when it comes to fish, the Coastal Conservation Association is another organization I support. They do a lot of work out in the Gulf Coast and in the Atlantic down towards Florida, but they also do work in the West Coast too, from California all the way through the Pacific Northwest. And if you're looking for an organization that is not only about the conservation of our game and food fish, but also advocates for recreational angling opportunities, the Coastal Conservation Association might be a good organization for you. Last and certainly not least, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. I love their tagline, "Hunting is conservation," and they truly walk the talk in terms of doing great work and providing funding for not just elk and the habitat they live in, but also for all sorts of other wildlife. Any of these groups, along with other ones I haven't mentioned, are good ones that could really use your dollars during this holiday season. We've got to start wrapping things up, but as we do, I want to wish you a wonderful holiday season. Here's hoping you are blessed and healthy in the days ahead, and here's hoping you can get out there and commune with nature. After all, it is your country and your outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it.